Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2015 Minnesota State Competitions for Poetry Out Loud. Give a round of applause. It's so exciting. My name is Dennis Smith. I write poems and I live here, and I'll be your host for this evening. I live in the library, literally. I sneak in between the stacks at night and haunt the books. Poetry Out Loud, to give you a little bit more information about it, is an exciting national poetry recitation, I can recite that, competition sponsored by the National Endowment of the Arts, the Poetry Foundation, and local state art agencies. Through memorization and performance, this league seeks to teach students aspects of public speaking skills and build self-confidence while learning about art and literature. So high school students from across the nation read, discuss, study, and memorize prominent poetry from the English language, deepening their understanding of complex ideas and practicing self-expression through other people's words. So it's taking a hint from spoken word poetry by having them read in front of audiences of their peers. Poetry Out Loud helps students present themselves confidently in public, on a stage, and build community through the arts. I think it's great. It gets a whole bunch of kids reading poetry, which it's typically described of as dead or not relevant anymore, which is complete BS. I could say the other thing if this were in a high school sponsored competition. And this keeps it alive in a lot of ways. I was just asking them backstage. At least half of them also are writing poetry as part of their lives too. So it's great to see that we get to have this dope thing to get our youth engaged with arts. So the winner of today's contest, to give you a little bit more about that, will receive $200 plus an all-expense-paid trip to the national competition in Washington, D.C. That winner's school will also receive $500 in order to buy books of poetry, and the winner and their teacher, who just gets like this freebie, will both get a $100 Loft gift certificate, which is great because the Loft has the best sandwiches and mochas you've ever had in your life. Like, they're great for books and all that, and you should really go there and take all the workshops and see all the readings that are at the Loft. But the breakfast sandwich with the soy mocha, it will set your Tuesday on fire. I'll tell you that. The runner-up will also receive $100 for themselves, and their school will also receive $200 for the purchase of poetry. The winner of the national competition, which we hope will be from Minnesota, of course, will receive a $20,000 college scholarship, and a total of $50,000 will be given out at the national competition. So somebody from this auditorium, very right here today, could just be rich as heck in their freshman year of college and just be balling on everybody, have all the fly textbooks, got a scooter to get around campus. That's going to happen to somebody here today. And we're very excited for that. And we're all going to get to hear some dope poetry. And so, okay, I'm going to do this thing right now, because I come from the world of poetry slam in my beginnings, and we don't act quiet when we listen to poetry. And somebody back there today was saying, they just sit there and stare at us when we're doing those poems. And that's not allowed to happen today. So if you hear somebody say something that makes you want to have an emotion or two, then you are allowed to speak that. So can I hear everybody give me their best right now? Can you say Or if it really gets to you, open your mouth and say ah. Or we can do the really corny poetry thing and just give a couple of snaps. So give me some snaps, give me snaps. And then give me all three of them at once. So give me a yes. So you can do all that. You can hoot, you can holler, you can amen, whatever you want to do. You can do a praise dance. I don't care. But we're going to show some emotion today, because the more energy we give these young people today, the more energy they're going to give back to us. And their poems and their scores will be higher, and we'll send them off to the national competition. And then they have to buy all of us some cookies at the Minnesota State Fair, because they won $200. And those cookies get real expensive in a little bucket. I like those, though. Cool. Let's get started. Let me introduce our judges for today's competition. This would not be possible without our judges. Our first judge is Chris Biak. Everybody please give it up for Chris. Chris is the director of creative writing at Normandale Community College. She designed and instituted the first successful AFA in creative writing, associates in fine arts, which is dope. I want to talk to you about that. That's really dope. Program and certificate program. Chris is currently writing a college-level creative writing textbook. She was recognized for her teaching with a 2012 Normandale Minnesota State Colleges and Universities Board of Trustees Excellence in Teaching Award. Chris's poetry has appeared recently in Silk Road, Waterstone Review, the Cream City Review, the New York Quarterly, I don't know how to say that, the Foundling Review, the Northeast Review, and the ever popular amongst elsewheres. So our next judge, give it one more time for Chris. Our next judge is Atrina Budd. Give it up for Atrina. Give us a wave. Anitra! I read it wrong. I'm so sorry. I said I wasn't going to do the thing because but as people with names that people mess up, we have to stop this violence. Okay. Anitra Budd, there we go. I read it wrong. I told you they had it. Is a freelance editor and writer. She is also the editor at large for Coffee House Press, a nonprofit literary press in Minneapolis. She's worked with authors such as, I can mess up all these people's names because they're not here, Kristen Koschok, T. Geronimo Johnson, Kate Bryn Himmer, Ron Punjit, and Christopher Merkner. So everybody, one more time for Anitra. I got you. I've been called Denise, Disease, all types of things. We have to get our names right. Our next performance judge is Nathan Perez. Give it up for Nathan, everybody. I like the foot stomping going on back here. Thank you, participants. Nathan is a principal at 20 Minute Communications, LLC, a consultancy that helps job seekers of all experience learn how to get new jobs. A 20-year veteran of the arts, Nathan is also a formally trained actor. Besides numerous strange appearances off-Broadway and around the country, he has starred and guest starred in film, national daytime and primetime television, and is a member of the Actors Equity Association and a voting member of the Screen Actors Guild. He continues to write fiction and is the co-author of the acclaimed professional networking book, The 20-Minute Networking Meeting. Everybody give one more time for Nathan Perez. Stephen Woodward is associate editor. One more time for Stephen, everybody. Give it up. All right. We get over him twice because we might not like judges by the end of today, so that's okay. You're doing a bad thing and a great thing, and we need you here, but we're just going to applaud for you twice because we might be giving you side eyes later. We don't know yet. That was my niece up there. Stephen Woodward is associate editor at Grey Wolf Press and teaches in a low residency program MFA at Sierra Nevada College. He has an MFA in fiction from the University of Michigan and recently received a Minnesota State Arts Board grant for his work. He has spoken about publishing and independent presses at a number of conferences and venues, including AWP, which is going to be here next week. There are going to be like thousands of writers flooding the Twin Cities in the first full week of April. AWP, Google it. It's going to be intense. A lot of good readings are going to be going on. But yes, he's done this at AWP, the Loft Literary Center, the University of Minnesota, and Writers at Work. One more time for Stephen, everyone. And our accuracy judge, because somebody has to make sure that they're saying the poems the way they was written, meant to be said, is Frez Tao. Everybody give it up one more time for Frez. Frez Tao is an advocate for the arts, believing art is direct energy from the soul. As a poet and hip-hop pioneer in the Hmong American community, Frez has been an active lyricist, performer, producer, and mentor since the early 90s. He is currently the executive director for the Center of Hmong Arts and Talent, and also freelances as a creative writing instructor, consultant, and mentor. One more time for Frez, everybody. All of our judges. We are going to be getting scored today by Patricia Patricia Straub. So they're going to be, numbers are important, even in the realm of poetry. I'll explain to you how the contest goes real quick in a second. But first, I'm going to invite Andy Mathis from the National Endowment of the Arts to just give us a couple words. So please welcome Andy to the stage.
Welcome on behalf of the National Endowment for the Arts. 10 years ago, the NEA and the Poetry Foundation created Poetry Out Loud to help high school students learn about great poetry. Since then, we've had more than 2.4 million students and 45,000 teachers from more than 7,300 schools across the country participate. All of you are part of this great movement. This year, Minnesota students account for 3,200 of the students at 45 schools. Congratulations. Now, to celebrate our 10-year anniversary, the NEA is doing an Instagram campaign of I Am Poetry Out Loud. So students and teachers, find me after the recitations. We'll take some pictures, and you may wind up on the NEA Instagram feed. With such a huge program to manage, the NEA turns to our network of state arts council partners to help us develop and sustain the program. Here in Minnesota, we rely on the Minnesota State Arts Board and their partner, the Loft Literary Center, to coordinate Poetry Out Loud so wonderfully. I'd like to offer our thanks to them and to the schools and teachers who've introduced the program to their students and helped them discover the richness of poetry. Teachers, Poetry Out Loud succeeds because of your time, your talent, and your dedication. Thank you for all that you put into it. And another thank you to parents for supporting your children in their learning. Judges, you are going to have a difficult task this afternoon. I applaud you and thank you for your commitment to the program. And last but not least, students in the green room. You guys are the heart and soul of this program. We are always awed by the work that you do to find a poem that resonates, and then the even deeper work that you do to dig deep inside yourselves to find the meaning that you then share with us to bring those poems to life. As Poetry Out Loud has developed over the years, we continue to be awed and inspired by the sophisticated understanding you bring to this work. And we appreciate all that you do to share it with us. We hope that you keep these poems close to heart in years to come, and we thank you so much, and I will be rooting for you at the national finals, and look for me when you get to DC. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you to the National Endowment of the Arts. They keep artists paid, and it's really nice when arts can have money, because sometimes we're broke, you know? So it's great. All right, we are going to get started with our competition. Just so y'all know, I'm going to explain the rules to you real quick. Each student contestant at the state and national level must have at least 3 poems prepared. One of those poems has to be 25 lines or fewer, and one must be written before the 20th century. The same poem may be used to meet both criteria. The twist. All poems must be selected from the Poetry Out Loud print or online anthology, and students may not use props or wear costumes for the recitations. The judges, the rankings will be totally based on the judges' scoring. So we're going to have 2 rounds where all 12 students will read their poetry, and then we will have a final round with the top 6 scores after those 2 rounds. Judges will be scoring based on their performance, specifically like physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, level of complicity, and evidence of understanding, all those wonderful types of things. And then we will have one judge, Fres, who will be judging on the accuracy of the poet's recitation of the written work. So that's going to be going down today. It's going to be great. They're going to come up here, they'll introduce their poem, and you will give them energy and love and respect, and you'll look at them like they are the future, because they are. And then you will clap for them vigorously, because you couldn't do that. You're not in the state finals. And then, I'll come out here and be like entertaining and grumpy in between stuff. Are we ready to go? Cool. All right. Our first poet today is going to be Abdi. Abdi is from Woodbury High School. When asked for a bio, he said, "I love poetry," which is short and simple and sweet, and I'm pretty sure the poetry is going to be sweet too. Everybody welcome Abdi to the stage.
Life by Edith Wharton. Life, like a marble block, is given to all. A blank, inchoate mass of years and days, once one with argent chisel swift essays, some shape of strength or symmetry to call. One shatters it in bits to mend a wall. One in a craftier hand the chisel lays, and one to wake the mirth in Lesbia's gaze, carves it apace in toys fantastical. Believest is he who, with enchanted eyes, filled with high visions of fair shapes to be, muses which God he shall immortalize in the proud Parian's perpetuity, till twilight warns him from the punctual skies that the night cometh where none shall see. Thank you.
Judges, are you ready? Cool. Our next poet is going to be Paul Cushman. Paul Cushman is from Wabasha Kellogg High School. When asked for a bio, he said, "This is my first year participating in Poetry Out Loud. I would like to go into musical theater someday. I hope you enjoy hearing all of the wonderful contestants here today." Gassing up his competitors. He's a good sport. Everybody, please give a wonderful applause for Paul Cushman. Coming to the mic.
Candles by Karl Dennis. If on your grandmother's birthday you burn a candle to honor her memory, you might think of burning an extra to honor the memory of someone who never met her. A man who may have come to the town she lived in, looking for work and never found it. Picture him, taking a stroll one morning after a month of grief with the want ads, to refresh himself in the park before moving on. Suppose he notices on the gravel path the shards of a green glass bottle that your grandmother, then still a girl, will be destined to step on if he doesn't stoop down and scoop the mess up with the want ad section and carry it to a trash can. For you to burn a candle for him, you needn't suppose the cut would be a deep one, just deep enough to keep her at home the night of the hayride when she meets Helen, who is soon to become her dearest friend, whose brother George, 30 years later, helps your grandfather out with a loan, so his shoe store doesn't go under during the Great Depression, and his son, your father, is able to stay in school, where his love of learning is fanned into flames, a love he labors later to kindle in you. How grateful you are for your father's efforts is shown by the candles you've burned for him. But today, for a change, why not a candle for the man whose name is unknown to you? Take a moment to wonder whether he died at home with friends and family or alone, on the road, on the lookout for no one to sit at his bedside and hold his hand, the very hand it's time for you to imagine holding. Thank you.
Faiza Abubakar is from Uba Medical Academy in Hopkins. When asked for a bio, this one made me cry up a little bit just because I miss my mom. She said, "I am the result of my mother's prayers," and I said, "Oh!" And it really just touched me, everybody. So everybody, please give a round of applause for Faiza coming to the mic, everybody.
They Feed They Lion by Philip Levine. Out of burlap sacks, out of bearing butter, out of black bean and wet slate bread, out of the acids of rage, the candor of tar, out of creosote, gasoline, drive shafts, wooden dollies, they lie and grow. Out of the gray hills of industrial barns, out of rain, out of bus ride, West Virginia to kiss my ass, out of buried aunties, mothers hardening like pounded stumps, out of stumps. Out of the bones need to sharpen and the muscles to stretch, they lie and grow. Earth is eating trees. Fence posts, gutted cars, earth is calling in her little ones. Come home from pig balls, from the ferocity of pig driven to holiness, from the furred ear and the full jowl, come the repose of the hung belly, from the purpose they lie and grow. From the sweet glues of the trotters come the sweet kinks of the fists, from the full flower of the hams, the thorax of caves, from bow down, come rise up, come they lion, from the reeds of shovels, the grained arm that pulls the hands, they lie and grow. From my 5 arms and all my hands, from all my white sins forgiven, they feed from my car passing under the stars, they lion from my children inherit. From the oak turned to a wall, they lion from they sack, and they belly opened, and all that was hidden, burning on the oil-stained earth, they feed, they lion, and he comes.
Word. Up next, we have Amorous Coleman from the Twin Cities Academy High School in St. Paul. As her, this is another little lovely bio. She said, "I didn't know I loved poetry until I recited it. I didn't feel like I was reading. I felt like I was telling a story." I hope she's about to tell a damn good story. Everybody, Amorous Coleman, come to the mic.
Okay. I'm a Fool to Love You by Cornelius Eady. Some folks will tell you the blues is a woman, some type of supernatural creature. My mother would tell you, if she could, about her life with my father, a strange and sometimes cruel gentleman. She would tell you about the choices a young black woman faces. Is falling in love with some man a deal with the devil? In blue terms, the tongue we use when we don't want nuance to get in the way, when we need to talk straight. My mother chooses my father after choosing a man who was, as we sing it, of no account. This man made my father look good. That's how bad it was. He made my father seem like an island in the middle of a stormy sea. He made my father look like a rock. And it's blues the moments you realize you exist in a stacked deck. You look in a mirror at your young face, the face my sister carries, and you know it's the only leverage you've got. Does this create a hurt that whispers, how you gonna do? Is the blues the moment you shrug your shoulders and agree a girl without money is nothing? Dust to be pushed around by any old breeze? Compared to this, my father seems briefly to be a fire escape. This is the way the blues works its sorry wonders. Makes trouble look like a featherbed. Makes the wrong man's kisses a healing. Thank you.
If you're interested in seeing more youth do poetry in a different way, the True Art Speaks is holding the Be Heard Youth Slam, which is all about young people like the same age group, 13 to 19, performing their own poetry for a chance to go to the Brave New Voices International Youth Poetry Slam. You can look that up at trueartspeaks.org. It's another great place in Minnesota to see youth doing poetry, and it's awesome. And yeah, I like it. Up next, we have David Camper from the Marshall School in Duluth. David says, I am a 12th grader and enjoy swimming competitively, as well as playing the piano and trombone. I like being involved with many activities in my school, including poetry out loud. I would like to thank my English teacher, my parents, and my brother for helping me achieve my goals. You gotta love anybody to give shout outs to the whole crew before they do their poems. So one time, everybody, please give it up for Dave Camper.
The Death of Allegory by Billy Collins. I am wondering what became of all those tall abstractions that used to pose, robed and statuesque, in paintings and parade about on the pages of the Renaissance, displaying their capital letters like license plates. Truth cantering on a powerful horse, chastity, eyes downcast, fluttering with veils. Each one was marble come to life, a thought and a coat. Truth cantering on a powerful horse. Villainy sharpening an instrument behind a wall. Reason with her crown and constancy alert behind a helm. They are all retired now, consigned to a Florida for tropes. Justice is there, standing by an open refrigerator. Valor lies in bed listening to the rain. Even death has nothing to do but mend his cloak and hood. And all their props are locked away in a warehouse. Hourglasses, globes, blindfolds, and shackles. Even if you called them back, There are no places left for them to go, no garden of mirth or bower of bliss. The valley of forgiveness is lined with condominiums, and chainsaws are howling in the forest of despair. Here, on the table near the window, is a vase of peonies, and next to it, black binoculars and a money clip, exactly the kind of thing we now prefer, objects that sit quietly on a line in lowercase, themselves and nothing more, a wheelbarrow, an empty mailbox, a razor blade resting in a glass ashtray. As for the others, the great ideas on horseback and the long-haired virtues in embroidered gowns, it looks as though they have traveled down that road you see on the final page of storybooks, the one that winds up a green hillside and disappears into an unseen valley where everyone must be fast asleep.
And judges are ready to go. All right, cool. Next up, we have Abigail Ederson from Harbor City International School in Duluth. What up, Duluth? 2 times in a row. Abigail says, similar to playing the piano and dancing, I love poetry because it allows me to express complex emotions I wouldn't otherwise be able to express. Hell yeah for accessing complex emotions. I still do that like a 4-year-old and throw tantrums in the middle of Target. And I'm glad Abigail found poetry. So everybody, please welcome Abigail Ederson to the stage.
Ah, why? Because the Dazzling Sun by Emily Bronte. Ah, why? Because the dazzling sun restored my earth to joy. Have you departed, everyone, and left a desert sky? All through the night your glorious eyes were gazing down in mine, and with a full heart's thankful sighs I blessed that watch divine. I was at peace and drank your beams as they were life to me, and reveled in my changeful dreams like petrel on the sea. Thought followed thought, star followed star, through boundless regions on, while one sweet influence, near and far, thrilled through and proved us one. Why did the morning rise to break so great, so pure a spell, and scorch with fire the tranquil cheek where your cool radiance fell? Blood red he rose, an arrow straight, his fierce beams struck my brow. The soul of nature sprang elate, but mine sank sad and low. My lids closed down, yet through their veil I saw him blazing still, and bathe in gold the misty dale, and flash upon the hill. I turned me to the pillow then, to call back night and see your worlds of solemn light again throb with my heart and me. It would not do. The pillow glowed, and glowed both roof and floor, and birds sang loudly in the wood, and fresh winds shook the door. The curtains waved, the wakened flies were murmuring round my room, imprisoned there till I should rise and give them leave to roam. O stars and dreams and gentle night, O night and stars, return, and hide me from the hostile light that does not warm, but burn, that drains the blood of suffering men, drinks tears instead of dew. Let me sleep through his blinding rain, and only wake with you.
Oh, I might as well tell you a little bit something about the Loft. So the Loft is one of the Minnesota sponsors for this competition. The semifinals this last week have been held at the Loft every day. The Loft engages more than 3,000 writers at all levels and all ages a year. It hosts more than 100 author readings and dialogues that draw more than 10,000 people. It's huge. It's right down the street over on Washington. So if you don't know about the Loft and you're here in the Twin Cities, please check out them. I started going to the Loft when I was like 14 years old, and it kept me involved in poetry. And now I have like a book on Grey Wolf coming out, and so like the Loft will take you far. So it's great, and yeah, you should check them out. All right, let's continue with the competition. Sarah Donnelly is from Great River School in St. Paul. Her bio says, I ran a half marathon in California last November. And I think that's their way of saying, I got this, I can run far. Don't ask me to recite no more poems again, because I'll smash it. So please welcome Sarah Donnelly to the mic, everybody.
Very Large Moth by Craig Arnold. Your first thought when the light snaps on and the black wings clatter about the kitchen is a bat. The clear part of your mind considers rabies. The other part does not consider, knows only to startle and cower away from the slap of its wings, though it is soon clearly not a bat, but a moth. And harmless, still you are shy of it. It clings to the hood of the stove, not black, but brown. Its orange eyes sparkle like televisions. Its leg joints are large enough to count. How could you kill it? Where would you hide the body? A creature so solid must have room for a soul. And if this is so, why not in a creature half its size, or half its size again, and so on, down to the ants? Clearly it must be saved. Caught in a shopping bag and rushed to the front door, afraid to crush it, feeling the plastic rattle, loosened into the night air. It batters the porch light, throwing fitful shadows around the landing. That was a really big moth, is all you can say to the doorman who has watched your whole performance with a smile. The half compassion and half horror we feel for the creatures we want not to hurt and prefer not to touch.
I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our next person because their bio is so interesting, and I want to discuss this bio for days. Naomi Whitney Hirschman is from Great River School in St. Paul, and her bio says, I sing sad rock and roll songs in the shower with my cats. And I'm so impressed by not only getting cats to sing sad rock and roll songs, but the idea of getting cats to coordinate in the shower in any type of way is very impressive. And so I think it's very great. So we're gonna hear some poetry from somebody that can make cats sing in harmony in the middle of the shower. This is Naomi Whitney Hirschman coming to the mic. Everybody, give it up.
Break, Break, Break by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Break. 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 On thy cold gray stones, O sea. And I would that my tongue could utter the thoughts that arise in me. Oh, well for the fisherman's boy that he shouts with his sister at play. Oh, well for the sailor lad that he sings in his boat on the bay, and the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill. But oh, for the touch of a vanished hand, the sound of a voice that is still. Break, break, break at the foot of thy crags, O sea. But the tender grace of a day that is dead will never come back to me.
I'm glad you didn't deny that the cats are singing in harmony, which is actually maybe the more impressive part. All right, up next we have Bethenny Black from Forest Lake Senior High in Forest Lake. She says, praise God for this opportunity to explore literary art. I've always found poetry to be the only way in which I can truly express myself. I think everybody should come to poetry with a nice little praise, a deity moment. So that's very nice, and I'm excited to hear what you can do on the stage right now, Bethenny. So everybody please give it up for Bethenny Blackmer.
Poor Angels by Edward Hirsch. At this hour, the soul floats weightlessly through the city streets, speechless and invisible, astonished by the smoky blend of grays and golds seeping out of the air, the dark halftones of dusk suddenly filling the urban sky. While the body sits listlessly by the window, sullen and heavy, too exhausted to move, too weary to stand up or to lie down. At this hour, the soul is like a yellow wing slipping through the treetops, a little ecstatic cloud hovering over the sidewalks, calling out to the approaching night, "Amaze me! Amaze me!" While the body sits glumly by the window, listening to the clear summons of the dead. Transparent as glass, clairvoyant as crystal. Some nights it is almost ready to join them. Oh, this is a strange, unlikely tethering. A furious grafting of the quick and the slow. When the soul flies up, the body sinks down. And all night, locked in the same cramped room, they go on quarreling, stubbornly threatening to leave each other, wordlessly filling the air with the sound of a low internal burning. How long can this bewildering marriage last? At midnight, the soul dreams of a small fire, of stars flaming on the other side of the sky. But the body stares into an empty night sheen, a hollow-eyed darkness. Poor, luckless angels, feverish old loves don't separate yet. Let what rises live with what descends.
We have 3 more poets, and then we're going to take a short intermission in between the rounds while we calculate scores and all that kind of stuff. Up next, we have Cody Able from Eastview High School in Apple Valley. Cody says, I'm a junior at Eastview High School, and I am involved with theater, choir, DECA, I'm assuming that's what people call it, and poetry out loud. He's reading one of my favorite poems, no pressure. But everybody, please give a round of applause for Cody Able coming to the mic.
Cadillac Moon by Kevin Young. Crashing again, Basquiat sends fenders and letters headlong into each other, the future fusion. A big bang, the big apple, atoms behind him, no sirens in sight. His career of careening, since at 6 playing stickball, a car stole his spleen. Blindsided. Move along, folks, nothing to see here. Driven does 2 caddies colliding, biting the dust he's begun to snort. Hit and run, Red Cross, the peel pale, ambulance inside out he hitches to the hospital. Joy ride, hot wired, oh the rush before the wreck. Each Cadillac, a Titanic, an iceberg that's met its match. Cabin flooded like an engine, drawing even dark shine from below deck. flats, fix, chop, shop, body work while you wait. Insight to the spleen or lean anterior view removed. Given Gray's anatomy by his mother for recovery. 151, reflection of spleen. Turned forwards and to the right like pages of a book. Basquiat pulled into orbit, with tide the moon, gold as a tooth, a hubcap gleaming, gleamed, shine, swimming for land somewhere solid, to spin his own orbit.
I like it. All right. Up next, we have Cameron Patricia Downey from the Blake School in Minneapolis. She says, as a sophomore, I love all forms of art, especially that of living. Come on. And thinking deeper than is probably good for me. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Yeah, right? I mean, yeah, Black Lives Matter. And also, like, yeah. And also, like, props for working a hashtag into your bio. Like, that's, like, a thing. Like, that's some writing skills right there. Everybody, please, everybody welcome Cameron Downey to the mic. Everybody, give it a round of applause.
The World is Too Much With Us by William Wordsworth. The world is too much with us. Late and soon, getting and spending, we lay waste our power. Little we see in nature that is ours. We've given our hearts away. A sordid boon, this sea that bears her bosom to the moon, the winds that will be howling at all hours are upgathered now, like sleeping flowers. For this, for everything, we are out of tune. It moves us not. Great God, I'd rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outworn, so might I, standing on this pleasant lea, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn. Have sight of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his wreathed horn.
We have one more poet to go in this first round of the competition. After this, we're gonna take a little bit of break. You should, like, go to the bathroom, go check out a book, go plug your meter, whatever you need to do, or just sit in anticipation of the second round, which is also like what I'm gonna do. So last but not least, we have Bridget More from Arcadia Charter School in Northfield, who says, I'm a sophomore at Arcadia Charter School. I'm interested in film, art, architecture, birds, and making music. If you like birds, like, poetry is the exact right place for you because it's birds and everything all over the book covers. Everything in poetry nowadays is birds, so you should get into poetry. Everybody, please welcome Bridget More to the mic. Give it up.
Monet Refuses the Operation by Lizelle Mueller. Doctor, you say there are no halos around the streetlights in Paris, and what I see is an aberration caused by old age, an affliction. I tell you, it has taken me all my life to arrive at the visions of gas lamps as angels. To soften and blur and finally banish the edges you regret I don't see. To learn that the line I called the horizon does not exist, and sky and water so long apart are the same state of being. 54 years before I could see Rouen Cathedral is built of parallel shafts of sun. And now you want to restore my youthful errors. Fixed notions of top and bottom, the illusion of three-dimensional space, wisteria separate from the bridge it covers. What can I say to convince you? The House of Parliament dissolve night after night to become the fluid dreams of the Thames. I will not return to a universe of objects that do not know each other, as if islands were not the lost children of one great continent. The world is flux, and light becomes what it touches, becomes water, lilies on water, above and below water, become lilac and mauve and yellow and white and cerulean lamps, small fists passing sunlight so quickly to one another that it would take long, streaming hair inside my brush to catch it, to paint the speed of light. Our weighted shapes, these verticals, burn to mix with air and change our bones, skin, clothes to gases. Doctor, if only you could see how heaven pulls earth into its arms and how infinitely the heart expands to claim this world. Blue vapor without end.
So that was the end of our first round. So like I said, we're going to take about a 5 or 7 minute break. I'll ask her to come back. Do you say? Okay, cool. And yeah, we'll be right back. So don't go far.